The suitcase felt heavier than it should have. As she grabbed the handle, her knuckles turned white, and she nearly stumbled backward. That split second of shock, that tiny fracture in her carefully composed facade, was worth every painstaking hour I had spent preparing for this weekend. "Oh, wow, did you pack rocks in here?" she asked, forcing a laugh. Her eyes flicked to me, searching for a reaction. I shrugged, keeping my expression unreadable. "You got everything you need in there," I said, my tone deliberately flat. "It's a special trip, after all." She hesitated, then gave me that same fake, rehearsed smile she'd been wearing for months. "You're so thoughtful," she murmured, leaning in to kiss me on the cheek. Her lips were cold, distant. I watched as she wheeled the suitcase toward the door, the small wheels squeaking under the weight. I stood motionless, waiting until the car pulled out of the driveway and disappeared down the street. Only then did I allow myself to exhale. It was showtime. Her name was Natalie, and we'd been married for 8 years, together for 10. For most of that time, I would have said we were happy, comfortable. We had our routines, our inside jokes, our shared dreams. Or, at least, I thought we did. That illusion shattered 3 months ago when I found the first text message. She had left her phone on the kitchen counter while she went upstairs to shower. I wasn't snooping, not intentionally, but the screen lit up a message preview and my eyes betrayed me. Asterisk, can't wait to see you this weekend. Miss you like crazy. Asterisk, it was signed Ethan. Ethan, a name I didn't recognize. We didn't have any friends named Ethan. There wasn't an Ethan at her office. At least, not that I knew of. My stomach dropped, my heart beat a heavy thud in my chest. But I didn't pick up the phone. Not then. Not yet. I knew better than to rush in blind. I needed proof, solid, undeniable proof. And proof I found. Over the next few weeks, I mastered the art of deception. Mine, not hers. While she thought I was oblivious, I was quietly unraveling the web she and Ethan had spun. I installed a keylogger on her laptop, capturing every email, every message. I followed her one evening, keeping a safe distance, watching as she worked late at an upscale hotel downtown. I placed a GPS tracker in her car. Every lie she told, every excuse, every "I love you" whispered to me before she left to meet him, drove the knife deeper. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. She thought she was in control, but she had no idea she was just a puppet on my strings. Then came the moment she announced her weekend getaway with the girls. I almost laughed. Her story was so full of holes it barely held together. Too many conveniently unavailable friends, too many last-minute changes, and a lingering scent of cologne on her blouse that wasn't mine. "You deserve some time to unwind," I told her, playing my part flawlessly. "I've got some project around the house to keep me busy." She beamed at me. "You're the best." The audacity! I helped her pack. While she carefully chose outfits meant to impress him, I was preparing my own suitcase. But mine wasn't filled with clothes. Mine contained the kind of evidence that would burn her world to the ground. Ethan lived in a luxury condo across the city. I had been there before, watching, learning. He was a high-level executive, the kind of man who carried himself with effortless confidence. He never once considered the husband of the woman he was sleeping with. That night, I parked down the street and waited in the shadows. Natalie's car was already there, parked haphazardly in her rush to get inside. I waited an hour, giving them time to settle in, then walked to the front door. My heart was pounding. I knocked, firm, authoritative. A few seconds later, the door opened. Ethan, late 30s, dark hair, an expensive watch glinting under the hallway light. His smile faltered the moment he saw me. "Can I help you?" he asked cautiously. "Oh, I think you can." I stepped forward. His hand twitched, debating whether to shut the door. I didn't give him the chance. I shoved my way inside. "Hey, you can't." "Shut up, Ethan." My voice cut through the air like a blade. "You and I need to have a little chat." Natalie appeared then, stepping into the hallway, her face draining of color when she saw me. She clutched her robe tight around her body, as if it could shield her from the reality crashing down. "Ryan, what are you doing here?" Her voice wavered. I ignored her. My attention stayed on Ethan. You know who I am, don't you? He swallowed hard. I think you should leave. I laughed, a low, bitter sound. Oh, I'll leave, but not before we talk. I reached into my bag and pulled out a stack of papers, printed screenshots of texts, emails, hotel receipts. I tossed them onto the coffee table, watching as they scattered like fallen leaves. Ethan's eyes flicked from the papers to Natalie, then back to me. You thought you were clever, didn't you? My voice rose. Sneaking around, thinking you wouldn't get caught. Did you think I was stupid? That I wouldn't notice? Ryan, please, Natalie pleaded, her voice trembling. Can we talk about this privately? Privately? I turned to her, rage boiling to the surface. You want privacy now? You didn't seem too concerned about that when you were screwing him behind my back. She flinched, tears welling in her eyes. But I didn't care. Not anymore. You don't get to cry, Natalie, I said coldly. You made your choices. Now you'll face the consequences. I turned back to Ethan. How does it feel, knowing you've been caught? That your little game is over? Look, man, he stammered. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Save it. I'm not interested in your excuses. But your wife might be. His face went white. What? Oh, yeah. I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. I found her contact info. Lovely woman. I'm sure she'll love knowing what her husband has been up to. Ryan, please, Natalie whispered, desperation in her voice. Don't do this. I turned to her, my stare ice cold. You should have thought about that before. I grabbed my bag and walked to the door. Before leaving, I glanced at Ethan one last time. And one more thing. If you ever come near my wife again, I'll make sure everyone in your professional circle knows exactly what kind of man you are. I left him standing there, the silence behind me deafening. The fallout was swift and brutal. The next day, I mailed the evidence to Ethan's wife. She filed for divorce within a week. Word spread quickly through his company, and he was quietly asked to resign. As for Natalie, she begged, pleaded, tried to explain. But I wasn't interested. The divorce papers were already in motion. She left with nothing but the clothes on her back. None of it was easy, but as I stood in my now empty house, the weight of betrayal finally lifting, I realized something. I had lost a wife, but I had gained something far more valuable, freedom, and the satisfaction of knowing justice had been served.